Why are you targeting her when there is a Ilhan Omar, your committee investigation with Ilhan Omar, when there is a process in the House, if people have questions about their conduct, this would go through the Ethics Committee. Why is this under
and I've spoken, I'm glad you asked that question. I've spoken with the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee has jurisdiction over members of Congress. The two businesses in question are owned by Ms. Omar's husband. So the Ethics Committee does not have jurisdiction over a spouse, only a member. So that's why we just asked, we would have questions. I don't think anyone would.
And it would pertain to her overall finances, because that is listed on her financial disclosure report. Even though that's
we've run this by the Ethics Committee, and we think this is the appropriate route.
Just voted to remove a Democrat from a major committee. Ilhan Omar was removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee by a party line vote of 218 to 211.
And this is exactly why we need to go ahead and start lobbying our own fucking politicians. What the fuck is 211 Democrats saying no for? Bitch, you had to be a citizen to become a fucking congressman. Stupid motherfucker. What part of she fucking lied to get the job don't you understand? You just gonna let her go in? That mean anybody can infiltrate our fucking government, stupid motherfuckers?
Word is spreading fast that Ilhan Omar may be out within 24 hours, and the scandal that allegedly triggered it is enormous. Her husband Tim Mynett's companies reportedly ballooned from just $51,000 to $30 million in a single year, all while she earned a $174,000 congressional salary. House Oversight Chairman James Comer has already launched a formal probe, and she was just removed from the Foreign Affairs Committee in a 218 to 211 vote. This goes straight to the heart of public trust. Be honest, if the allegations hold, she isn't just facing pressure to resign. What's coming next for her could be far worse than losing a seat.
Democrats invite terrorists from all over the world into this country. They let them steal our benefits, enjoy our schools, overrun our hospitals, vote in our elections, and then steal our tax dollars to send back to their home countries to fund terrorism. By the way, I've seen all of these woke Democrats like Omar calling Somalia a wonderful place. If it's such a wonderful place, why doesn't she move back? If Somalia is all that, why is the terrorist group Al-Shabaab murdering Somalian civilians by the masses? And why is the capital of Somalia considered to be one of the most dangerous capitals in the world due to frequent terrorist bombings, targeting killings, and ambushes? That sounds like a place no one would ever want to visit or live.
Ilhan Omar is a sitting U.S. Congresswoman from Minnesota. She came to America as a refugee from Somalia. She rose through Democratic politics and became one of the loudest voices in Congress. That part, the media covers nonstop. What they bury is everything else. Because right now, multiple serious allegations are crashing down on her at the same time. We're talking a fraud allegation involving her own family. Questions about her family's ties to a regime that slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. A vote in Congress that critics say put politics over American troops. And now, even members of her own party are turning on her publicly. Here's why this matters to you. When a member of Congress is accused of fraud, of misusing immigration law, of shielding a dangerous foreign regime from accountability, that's not a gossip story. That's a trust story. That's a question of whether the people holding power in Washington actually answer to the American people. And right now, the pressure is building from every direction. Let's start with the political powder keg that lit this whole thing back up. Senator Tommy Tuberville didn't mince words. He tied the entire Omar controversy to a much bigger argument about who gets protected in America and who gets questioned.
It was first made a few years ago. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tried to knock it down by calling it absurd. Then when the media turned up a wedding certificate, Omar went silent, refusing to make any comments at all, saying she does not talk about her family or personal life. Well, now others are talking, like Abdul Hakim Osman, a prominent member of the Minneapolis Somali community, who is now on the record telling the Daily Mail that in 2009, Ilhan Omar married her biological brother, Ahmed Saeed Almi, so that he could legally remain in the U.S. and attend college. At the time, Omar was married to Ahmed Hersi. but it was a religious marriage, meaning there was no Minnesota state record stating that she and Hersey were husband and wife. And so marrying her brother would allow her sibling to get his legal immigration documents. But Mr. Osman isn't just saying that Omar married her biological brother. He also gave the Daily Mail the name of the Christian minister who married them. That minister reportedly says she does not want to be involved or interviewed about Congresswoman Omar.
That is a United States senator saying on the record what millions of Americans have been thinking for years. You cannot demand accountability from foreign governments while being shielded from accountability yourself. The contrast Tuberville draws between American freedom and the violence in Somalia isn't just rhetorical. It goes directly to the heart of the allegation that has followed Omar for over a decade. And that allegation is serious. If true, it means a sitting member of Congress used marriage, and as a tool to fraudulently obtain immigration documents for a relative. A prominent member of Minneapolis's own Somali community is now on record with a specific name, a specific year, and the name of the minister allegedly involved.
Make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States.
For Ilhan Omar to make comments about a regime change is wild considering her family's history, and I figured not enough people know about her family's history, so let's recap. Her dad and her grandfather were both high-ranking military officials to the Barr regime, which killed over 200,000 people. They're most famous for the Isaac genocide, and they were like, it was the worst of the worst. Aerial bombings, executions, man-made famine. People massively suffered under this regime with the help of people like Ilhan Omar's family, who supported the regime and carried out this horror. Also, you want to know how Barr started out? As a socialist and then became a murderous dictator. I digress.
Omar has denied this for years. But notice something. When a wedding certificate surfaced, she stopped talking entirely. She didn't sue for defamation. She didn't hold a press conference with documents. She went silent. In politics, silence in the face of specific, documented allegations from someone inside your own community is not the same as innocence. Prosecutors call that kind of behavior consciousness of guilt. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand what it means when someone stops defending themselves the moment real evidence appears. And then there's the family history. This one cuts deep. Critics have been raising it for years, but it rarely gets treated with the seriousness it deserves. Omar's father and grandfather reportedly held high-ranking positions inside the Barre regime in Somalia. That regime is responsible for one of the worst atrocities in African history.
A resolution reaffirming that Iran remains the largest state sponsor of terrorism. Only 9 lines long. But as Iran's regime is trying to kill our troops in the Middle East, 53 Democrats voted against it. That is a stark contrast to just 3 years ago, when under President Joe Biden, the very same resolution passed 420 to 1. Ben.
Well, it was my own congressman for his sins. Don Beyer was first on your list there, and I'm pretty pissed off about that. Look, this is the easiest vote in the world. It's just a factual statement. It's saying that Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror, and because of that, of course, there are certain things that follow, and the Democrats are uncomfortable with the things that follow, namely that America should be doing what it can to take a regime that is at its weakest moment, that has seen its proxies absolutely defeated across the region, to go after them in a way that, quite frankly, the American military has been preparing for a very long time.
Over 200,000 people, aerial bombings, mass executions, a man-made famine deliberately used as a weapon, the Isaac genocide. These are not disputed historical footnotes. They are documented atrocities. And the argument critics are now making is straightforward. If a conservative politician had family ties to a regime that carried out ethnic cleansing, the media would never stop talking about it. The fact that Omar's family history gets buried while she lectures Congress about oppression, that's not journalism. That's protection. But here's where this stops being about biography and becomes about active policy. The House of Representatives recently voted on a resolution, 9 lines long, simply reaffirming that Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism, not a declaration of war, not a military authorization, a statement of fact, one that passed 420 to 1 just 3 years ago under Joe Biden. 53 House Democrats just voted against it. Omar was among them.
Why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Honestly, start your own movement. All right, let's do the simple math. And probably 69%, I don't know, we could call Jim Gerstein or Jeff Garrett. Roughly 69% of the people going to vote in November maybe more. Let's do 70 for just round math, are going to be white. Of that, 48%, maybe a little more, are going to be male. So that's roughly, let's just call it 33 1/3% of the entire election. Well, let's just run against them because that's so goddamn smart. All right. So now we're going to have a campaign by the progressive left against white men.
Iran is actively targeting American troops in the Middle East right now. And 53 members of Congress, including Ilhan Omar, couldn't bring themselves to vote yes on 9 lines calling that out. The comparison to 3 years ago matters enormously. Nothing changed geopolitically that makes Iran less dangerous. What changed is the political climate. Donald Trump is back in office, and for some members of Congress, opposing Trump apparently matters more than protecting the men and women in uniform. That's not a policy disagreement. That's a statement about priorities. And now the moment that may have changed everything, because this criticism didn't come from conservatives. It didn't come from Fox News. It came from James Carville, one of the most decorated Democratic strategists alive, the man who put Bill Clinton in the White House. He didn't just criticize Omar's politics. He told her to leave the party entirely.
Who vote about a third of everybody that votes in an election. Why don't you, lady, start your own party? And then when it's over, if you want to caucus with the Democrats, fine. We agree with a lot of things that you do, but we don't believe we ought to be running against white men. In fact, we don't think we ought to be running against any gender, any ethnic group, any race, any religion, or anything else. God damn, these people are just helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. They don't want to be helped. And if they had any guts, they'd start their own goddamn political party and get out of ours. I'm sorry.
When James Carville says that publicly with that kind of language, that is not a policy spat. That is a senior architect of the Democratic Party telling one of its most prominent members, "You are a liability we cannot survive." His math